Mahākāśyapa, the guardian of the Buddha's teachings, ease, birth and the fateful marriage. In the kingdom of Magadha, a prosperous land and a center of knowledge in ancient India, there was a wealthy and powerful Brahmin family. This family owned vast lands, cattle, and riches, but their greatest pride was their son, Pipali. One, a unique child. From a young age, Pipali stood out from other children. While other children enjoyed studying the Brahmin scriptures, practicing martial arts, or participating in religious rituals, young Pipali was thoughtful and sensitive. He often wondered, why must people suffer? Why are there rich and poor? Why must everyone grow old and die? Once, while walking across his family's fields, he witnessed the poor farmers working under the harsh sun, while his family lived in luxury. He saw an elderly farmer being scolded and beaten for working slowly, which made Pipali feel heartbroken. He thought to himself, if all of us will grow old and die, what is the meaning of wealth and power? Gradually, Pipali grew more disillusioned with the life of indulgence and longed to find the path to liberation. 2. Pressure from his family for marriage. As Pipali came of age, his parents grew concerned that he showed no interest in taking over the family wealth. They believed that if Pipali married a virtuous and beautiful woman, he would change his mind. Thus, they arranged a marriage for him with a young woman named Bada Kapilani, a woman of great virtue and beauty. However, what Pipali's parents did not know was that Bada also did not wish to marry. From a young age, she had realized the impermanence of life and nurtured the intention to become a nun. When Pipali learned that his parents had decided on his marriage, he did not dare to oppose them. He thought, if this is what my parents wish, I cannot disappoint them. Thus, the wedding took place in front of hundreds of witnesses. Number 3, a unique marriage. However, on their wedding night, when they were alone together, both Pipali and Bada realized they shared the same goal. Both desired to renounce the world and follow the path of monasticism. Bada said to Pipali, do you not feel that this world is filled with suffering and sorrow? Pipali nodded and replied, yes, I never wished to marry, but I did not want to disappoint my parents. Now I realize that you share the same aspirations as I. They both vowed to live together as spiritual companions, keeping the precepts and refraining from physical intimacy. For a long time after, they lived together under one roof as spiritual friends, practicing mindfulness and not allowing their feelings to bind them to worldly attachments. Number 4, parting to renounce the world. Although they had kept the precepts within their marriage, Pipali and Bada still felt that life in the household, amidst worldly ties, was too restrictive. One day, they decided to renounce everything and follow the monastic path. Before leaving, they took a walk across the fields, the same place where Pipali had witnessed human suffering. They stopped under a large tree, and Pipali said, from here, our paths will diverge. But no matter what, I believe we will meet again on the path of enlightenment. Bada smiled and said, the greatest happiness is living true to one's heart's intention. I hope you will soon meet the true teacher. Afterward, Bada joined a group of nuns to ordain, while Pipali left his family, donned the robes of wandering ascetic, and began his journey in search of the truth. Thus, Pipali's life took a completely new direction, one filled with hardship but also filled with the light of wisdom. Meeting the Buddha. Leaving his family, Pipali donned the robes of an ascetic and became a wandering seeker of truth. One day, while traveling, he met the Buddha, Shakyamuni. As soon as he saw the Buddha, Pipali felt a deep sense of peace, as if all his doubts instantly vanished. He bowed down and said, Blessed One, I have been searching for so long. Please allow me to follow you. The Buddha looked at him with compassion and said, follow me, and from now on you will be called Mahākāśyapa. From that moment, Mahākāśyapa became one of the Buddha's most important disciples. The greatest ascetic disciple, since he ordained as a disciple of the Buddha, Mahākāśyapa chose a strict ascetic path, not to torture his body, but because he wanted to live in simplicity and poverty to eliminate all attachment to the body and material things. 1. The robe made of rags, Pamsukula robes, Sukula robes. While many monks were allowed to receive robes from lay people's offerings, Mahākāśyapa only wore the Pamsukula robe, a robe made from scraps of cloth, torn fabric collected from garbage or dead bodies. He personally gathered, washed, and sewed the cloth into robes. When other monks felt uncomfortable with this, the Buddha praised, Mahākāśyapa is a shining example of the simple life of a monk. Once, King Bimbisara wanted to offer Mahākāśyapa a good robe, but he declined. When the Buddha asked why, Mahākāśyapa replied, I vow to keep this practice for my whole life as an example for future generations. Begging for alms without discrimination. Mahākāśyapa only ate food received through alms and did not accept special offerings from kings or the wealthy. When he went on alms rounds, he did not choose the rich houses, but went to poor areas to create opportunities for everyone to accumulate merit. Once, when he went to beg for alms in a poor village, he met an elderly woman in great hardship who only had a little thin porridge. She shyly offered it, saying, Lord, I only have this little porridge. I don't know if you can accept it. Mahākāśyapa gladly accepted it and said with folded hands, Your heart is more precious than all the delicacies in the world. Later, the Buddha praised, Mahākāśyapa always perceives the equality of all beings, not distinguishing between the rich and the poor, the high and the low. 3. Sleeping under trees, not in monasteries. While many monks stayed in monasteries, Mahākāśyapa slept only under trees or in caves. Regardless of the rain, wind, or cold, he maintained this lifestyle. Once, the Buddha saw Mahākāśyapa sleeping in a wilderness and asked, Why don't you go to the monastery to rest? Mahākāśyapa respectfully replied, Lord, I wish to train my mind not to cling to comfort, not to seek happiness in the body, but only to aim for liberation. The Buddha then said, Your ascetic practice is truly noble. You are a lamp for future generations. 4. The spirit of selflessness, not attached to material things. Once, a heavenly being appeared before Mahākāśyapa to test him and said, You are too ascetic. Why not accept a more comfortable life? What is the use of living like this? Mahākāśyapa simply smiled and replied, Comfort does not lead to enlightenment. Only when the mind is not attached can one truly be free. Hearing this, the heavenly being bowed in respect. Thanks to this spirit of asceticism, Mahākāśyapa was praised by the Buddha as the foremost in renunciation, maintaining the pure qualities of a monk. He became a shining example of simplicity, poverty, and compassion, revered through many generations. The monk who presided over the first council of scriptures. When the Buddha entered nirvana under the two sal trees at Kusinara, the entire Sangha was engulfed in sorrow and mourning. The monks were bewildered, not knowing who would continue to lead the community and preserve the teachings of the Blessed One. At that time, Mahākāśyapa was traveling with his disciples in distant places. Upon hearing the news of the Buddha's passing, he immediately returned. On the way back, he encountered a monk joyfully saying, Brothers, from now on no one will bind us, we can live however we please. Mahākāśyapa was alarmed and realized that if the scriptures were not quickly collected, the teachings of the Buddha could be misinterpreted and fade away over time. 1. Summoning 500 arhats. Upon his return, Mahākāśyapa consulted with the senior disciples and decided to organize the first council of scriptures to record the entire Dharma of the Buddha. He chose the Saptaparna cave, 7 Leaves cave, in Rajagaha as the place for the council, and invited 500 arhats, those who had attained enlightenment, to ensure the accuracy of the scriptures. However, Mahākāśyapa recognized that not everyone was suitable to participate. He declared, only those who have attained the state of an arhat and completely eradicated greed, hatred, and delusion may enter the council. After 3 months of selection, 500 arhats were gathered. 2. Ananda, the one who memorized the scriptures. At that time, there was an important issue. Who would recite the teachings of the Buddha? Although Ananda, the Buddha's closest attendant, had memorized the entire Dharma, he had not yet attained arhatship, so he was not allowed to participate. Mahākāśyapa said to Ananda, If you wish to preserve the Dharma, you must first attain arhatship. Hearing this, Ananda determined to meditate through the night. By dawn, just as he was about to rest, he attained arhatship and was allowed to attend the council. At the council, Mahākāśyapa requested Ananda to recite all that he had heard from the Buddha. He began with the words, "Thus have I heard," Ivami Sutta. This is the origin of the teachings in the Sutta Pitaka that we have today. 3. Effort to preserve the original teachings. During the council, Mahākāśyapa was extremely strict to ensure that not a single word of the Buddha's teachings was altered or misinterpreted. Once, a monk suggested adding a few words to make the Buddha's teachings easier to understand. Mahākāśyapa sternly said, "None shall alter even a single word of the true Dharma. Whatever the Blessed One taught must be transmitted in its entirety." Thanks to his determination, the entire scripture was compiled accurately and uniformly. 4. Passing on the robe and bowl, awaiting Metteyya Buddha. After completing the task of preserving the Dharma, Mahākāśyapa knew that his time on earth was limited. He withdrew and entered deep meditation in the Kukutapada mountain, preserving his physical body in a meditative state. It is said that he remains in this state in the birth of Metteyya Buddha, Maitreya, to pass on the Buddha's robe and bowl. Mahākāśyapa is considered a symbol of the continuity of the true Dharma, ensuring that the teachings of the Buddha do not disappear with time.